Hey guys, so this video is to just show you a little bit about the progressive lens identifier, the book, and a little bit more information on progressive lenses that I thought the other videos were kind of lacking. So I've got a couple glasses over here, some progressives. I got something we kind of call a progressive lens chart, PD stick, and the identifier itself. Now, the identifier itself, the book, this is something that is to me is a crucial lab tool or retail tool. This is an old version, 2010. But what this is it tells you about all the progressive lenses that are made in the United States and Canada, mostly. You may find some stuff eventually overseas that you can't find in this book, but it's going to give you the lion's share of progressive lenses you're going to find. So in this book, it's got some basic stuff. It starts talking about some of the progressive lens names. And then you get into these weird pages that have some little markings here. I know this isn't great, but there's all kinds of stuff. We'll zoom in over here. This is something you're going to become pretty familiar with, this line. This is all of the Essilor product. These are some old symbols here, but that's what they are. The symbols are hidden inside progressive lenses. So you can see there's some markings on here by the lab, by the manufacturer, so they can be set up in the lab. And then I have a pair here that I put the dots on that we couldn't see. If you look closely on this one, you'll see these little circles across. And they're in every single progressive lens. Sometimes it's a circle, sometimes it's a diamond, it's a triangle, but there's always little laser marks. So if I wipe all this stuff off and you hold this up to a light, or you use a progressive lens identifier, which is one of the other videos I've attached for this week, you're going to be able to see these little marks in the lenses. By the nasal, right under this circle, there's a little symbol that we can't see. But again, if I held it up to the light or used a lens identifier, you'd be able to see it, hopefully. That symbol tells you the manufacturer and the model for this progressive lenses, because when it comes to progressive lenses, you've got a wide range of designs. So whatever you do, don't fall in love with one kind. This chart here shows some symbols for, this is an old lens, a Verilux Ipsio, Verilux Physio Enhanced, still a very popular lens. The Verilux Physio, still a very popular lens. The Verilux Comfort, or the new Comfort, is definitely still out there, as well as the new Verilux Comfort Enhanced. And again, all these symbols would be right here where it says C index. That's where the symbol would be found on the left and right lenses, or right and left lenses for progressive lenses. Out here, under the other circle, you're going to find your add power. That's going to tell you, like if this one says 2.0, that means it's a plus 2.00 add power progressive. If you had a 1.7, it would be a 175. If it was a 1.5, it would be a 150. A 1.2 is a 1.25, so on and so forth. Most progressive lenses now range anywhere between anything from a 1.0, which would be a plus 1, to a 3.0, which would be a plus 3. A lot of brands do come in 350 and 4, but usually above 3, the add powers don't increase by quarter steps anymore. You can only get them in half steps. So inside this lens, I had my 4 dots. I marked them with the pen. And now if I wanted to successfully finish these, I can take my dots and I can line them up over the chart and fill in the rest of the information as far as the fitting cross, the reading area. There's my dots, and we want to mark in all these other little spots. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. If I can zoom that in a little bit. Because that's going to be important if we were making these lenses up for the lab and we had a big starting one, excuse me for lack of a better way of putting that, but a beginning lens, we had to put all these marks on. We want to clearly see all these lines. Similar to the 3 dots on a single vision lens, all these lines are important. When we block, it's all straight. You'll see that in the other video. Once I have successfully put on all my marks, I can then use the fitting cross to determine PD as well as seg height. So, again, lenses kind of at the beginning. Oh, geez, sorry about that, guys. Lenses at the point where somebody came in with them and was trying to identify them. And we're going to use our PD stick to take all of our measurements and determine. And you'll see that some of that information in the other video. One last thing about the Progressive Lens Identifier book is once you find the lens you've got, you just kind of flip to the right page, and then it shows a whole bunch of information about progressive lenses. It talks about the layout of the lens, the materials it can be made out of. Sometimes it just mentioned it. Some of the newer books, it's a little bit more descriptive. It talks about the manufacturer, the name, and then something about the position of the seg height itself. Let me get a little closer there. So for this one, you see a +4. That means that the fitting cross is 4 millimeters above where you would line up the two dots, and then where you would have the prism reference point. Different progressives will have different heights. The vast majority of them are always going to be 4 millimeters above the prism reference point for the fitting cross, but you will see other lenses that are 2 millimeters above, or this example here, if you can see that okay, it says on 180. So that means right where the prism reference point is where the seg height or the fitting cross would then sit. It has everything to do with patient's ability to look down to read and have less vertical error, less prism when they look down, which I don't want to get into. It's a little bit too complicated. But there's all the stuff about the progressive lenses. You can see the different designs. And again, it'll show you pretty much everything that's in the United States. So if you guys have any questions about this, please let me know. You can look at a lot of this information online as well, as far as the Progressive Lens Identifier. And then hopefully wherever you work, you've got one a little bit more current than the one I've got, the 2010. Because as they get updated, it starts to talk more and more about the different types of progressive lenses that are out there. And if you had somebody come into your shop, you have an old book and they have a new lens, it might be something you can't find. So any questions, let me know. We'll get into a little bit more about progressive lens design next week in a video I'll be doing.